is somehow eternal, I think. And therefore the next picture you see is a picture of the universe or the galaxies. And the text says there are 10 times as many stars in the universe as there are sand grains on the Earth. Now, this is something that as far as I remember, some Australian astronomers basically all the astronomers of the planet have one way or another been counting stars for years and years and years and years. It happens so that here in India, where we are right now, astronomers thousands of years ago knew that the Earth was round, that the Earth was part of a galaxy, that the Earth was part of a universe, and at the same time we in Europe, as actually many of us still do, think that the Earth was flat. Where I come from, up till probably relatively recently, people thought that the Earth was flat. And maybe that's where a lot of the problems appears in today's world. Because if we don't understand that the universe is so colossal. Now if you take sand and just grab, a handful of sand, as you'll see in this little video maybe.
Now it's quite amazing to think that in here is an enormous amount of small sand grains. Now, what has fascinated me recently is, not recently but for many, many years, is that the astronomers have now found out that there are 10 times as many stars in the universe as there are sand grains, not in my hand, but on the entire planet. So, thinking about this, I kind of get a deep respect for eternity and for, exploring the universe and exploring the possibilities in new ways and trying to see the world in a different perspective and understanding that everything really, or probably really is, an eternal cycle. So, all the sand that we see here contains leftovers from, probably other planetary systems and God knows what. But we can also use this to make houses from, to do all sorts of things. And the houses that we see around us, that we build, the products that we make from this material, obviously, one way or another, gets recycled. So, it's just, I think, fascinating. Right.
You all of a sudden realize that, try and count just a handful of sand grains. And then imagine that there are sand grains, that all the sand grains on the planet. Imagine just calculating how much sand grain there is in Sahara. And then, I remember in Denmark there are 7,000 kilometers of beaches, which most of them have sand. Imagine how much sand there is, and imagine that 10 times of those sand grains is what has been calculated that there is of stars. Now, excuse me, I get very humble when I hear these kind of things. And I must admit that I cannot sit here and tell you that, for example, that there are no other intelligent beings out there, for example. Honestly, I cannot. I simply do not understand how it's possible to be, and mind you saying it, arrogant in a way, and believing, or not believing. It's not so much about believing. It's really about trying to trust your intuition and trying to get an idea of the magnitude of this universe. And maybe this universe is part of another universe, that's part of another universe, that's part of another universe, etc., etc., etc. I normally give an example when I give lectures, when I say, if you take a hologram and it's made from glass, in this hologram you have an image. Now, what you see now is a hologram. You take this hologram and you smash it. And what's going to happen is that you're going to get maybe thousands of small pieces of glass. But the interesting thing is that when you take out the hologram, you see the same image that you had in the big image in the small, in the small piece. Now, I'm not going to explain you why. I'm just going to tell you that this is one of the things that's happening. And if you look at nanotechnology, if you look at new technologies in general, you will see, I mean, nanotechnology, for example, is a technology that manages to manipulate on atomic level. Now, if that's not mind-boggling, I don't know, and very worrying also, because we are actually capable of playing around with the building stones of the universe, or at least of the planet, maybe not the universe. So anyway, what I'm saying with this is basically, please try and look at what is around you, and don't look at the earth as a flat piece of cake, and don't look at the earth as only the only thing in the universe. I think it's mentally, I think it's very good to actually try and do a little exercise and just, imagine, what does this planet look like, or what does this exact spot, what did it look like maybe 1,000 years ago, maybe 10,000 years ago, maybe 1,000,000 years ago? What will it look like in 10,000 years from now, in 1,000,000 years from now? Because it's all part of the equation. The problem in today's world is that we flush and forget, which is why there is an entire chapter in this book called the flush and forget culture. Because from my point of view, it's one of the biggest issues really, is that we don't respect eternity, that everything is eternal. We don't respect that everything comes from the planet and everything has to go back to the planet, no matter what it is. No matter what it is. There's nothing here that doesn't go into somehow, one way or another, the eternal cycles. If there is, let me know. And probably the planet itself as well is being recycled. It's after all only 5 billion years old, supposedly. What happened before those 5 billion years? I don't know. Well, I do, but I'm not going to tell you. Well, maybe I don't. So, the next image you see here is